Hello everyone, this is CA Shantanu here, and the reason for today's discussion or for this quick video is that I thought why not to share certain things which might be quite helpful to you as far as September month GST returns are concerned. So most of you guys would have already be ready with your September GST returns, or few of the consultants might be working on September month GST return for their clients, and like regular routine returns you will be collating all the details and working on it. But I think you guys should wait, let's wait a little bit, just have a look at what I want to say. While filing GST returns, I really felt that as far as September month return is concerned, it has its own significance. So, I thought there are certain things which we really can't afford to miss while filing September month GST returns. So, just for the sake of your reference and for your understanding, I have tried to compile top 5 things, top 5 critical aspects which you can't afford to miss while filing your September month GST returns. So, why am I emphasizing on it quite a lot? Let's try to understand that. Now, all of you guys might be aware that in GST law, just take any provision. So, if you take example of section 37 related to outward supplies, section 34 related to credit notes or debit notes, or even if you take example of section 16 relating to input tax credit. Now, if you closely observe, then you'll realize that most of these provisions are having one specific clause or one specific provision which will talk about time limit to report all these transactions in GST returns. And that's where September month GST returns have its own significance, and that's where we can say that yes, September month returns are critical than any other month GST returns. No, why am I saying so? It's basically because if there are certain provisions which says that for a particular financial year, if any transactions related to a particular financial year, if you want to report it in next financial year, then there are certain time limits for reporting those transactions. And that's what we'll be discussing today. And that's why I have collated top 5 things which will help you to understand that which are those top 5 things which should not be missed while filing your September return. So that's why I told you guys just wait for a little while, understand these 5 things, and then just move on for filing your GST returns. So for the sake of clarity and for the sake of understanding, what I have done is that this top 5 things I've tried to categorize into 2 buckets. The first one is with regards to outward supplies, so basically sales side, and the second one with regards to input tax credit, so basically the expense side or purchase side, you can say. So let's try to understand what's there to be taken care of as far as outward supplies are concerned. So basically these are the transactions to be taken care of from sales side perspective. Now while filing your GST returns or filing GST returns for your clients, all of you guys must be collating certain details, or you will be getting certain details from clients, and after compiling all those details, working on it, you will be filing GSTR1 or GST returns to be precise. So basically in September month return, the first thing which you guys should do is that by now all of you guys would have finalized profit and loss account and balance sheet for last financial year. So what you need to do is that you need to reconcile the sales turnover or the income side of profit and loss account with sales reported in GSTR1. So basically all the B2B and B2C transactions which have been reported in GSTR1 of last financial year pertaining to last financial year must be reconciled with audited financials, with the audited turnover, or probably I can say wherever audit is not applicable, with the finalized turnover which will be reported in your income tax returns. So basically once you reconcile the turnover of last financial year, and if you realize that there are certain transactions which you would have missed, there are certain sales transactions which you would have missed to report in last GSTR, last financial year GSTR1, then this is the opportunity for you guys to make all the rectifications or to add or modify those sales invoices in your GSTR1. because typically the GST law provision says that for last financial year, any invoice or any changes with regards to that invoice can be reported in GSTR 1 for the month of September. So basically up to the due date of September GSTR 1, you can make those changes. The first thing is reconciliation of your last year's reported GSTR 1 invoices with your audited financials. Second thing is basically with regards to credit notes. So basically credit notes are something which are usually issued to reduce your GST liability, because there has been an downward valuation as far as invoices are concerned. So basically, if you would have missed to report any credit notes in your last financial year, then this is the time to consider it. Because if you have missed any credit notes, so basically you have not considered the effect of that credit note for reducing your GST liability. So basically, just ensure that all the credit notes in your GSTR 1 reported in last financial year must match with credit notes as per financials. If you have missed anything, then mind you guys, this September month GSTR 1 return is the last return in which you can issue or report any credit notes pertaining to last financial year. The third and another critical aspect of sales side, important things to be considered is that there is a possibility that some of you guys, would have realized that yes, while reporting a particular invoice in GSTR 1, you would have missed or you would have made certain clerical mistakes. Like, probably a transaction would have been reported in B2C instead of B2B or vice versa, or probably you would have, by mistake, one of your team member of your consultant would have, reported a transaction with a wrong GSTN. And any of your customers or clients would have approached you and told you that, you need to change the GSTN basically. So what you guys need to do is that you need to ensure that any amendments pertaining to last financial year must be done, must be taken care of up to this September month GST returns. So these are the three things as far as outward supplies are concerned. The first one, reconciling your outward supplies reported in GSTR 1 with financials. The second one, to check whether you have missed reporting any credit notes. And the third one is to check for any amendments which you would have, which you want to do as far as invoices, debit credit notes are concerned pertaining to last financial year. So I think this is it, guys, as far as outward supply is concerned. I believe, input tax credit is something which is also quite relevant, because considering the various provisions, Rule 36(4), matching your ITC with GSTR 2A, all of you guys might be working on a month-on-month basis to reconcile your ITC and avail the input tax credit. Now, as far as input tax credit is concerned, you need to ensure that the ITC which you would have claimed in your GSTR 3B must reconcile with your purchases and expenses reported in your last financial year. So basically, you need to check whether you would have missed availing any ITC. So for example, while finalizing your books of accounts, you would have realized that an entry was not done properly as far as one of the major expense was concerned. So ITC was remained to be booked in your financials, and as a result, you would have never considered that invoice while filing your GSTR 3B, your GST return for availment of ITC. Now, in this scenario, if you realize that you have missed any purchase transaction, then as per provisions related to input tax credit, ITC pertaining to last financial year expenses or purchases can be taken again only up to the due date of September month GST return. So basically, up to GSTR 3B of the month of September, you can avail any ITC which you would have missed in last financial year. So basically, guys, you need to consider that if there are any transactions or any invoices pertaining to last financial year returns, then you need to reconcile those invoices and avail that ITC in September month GSTR 3B. So basically, missed ITC needs to be considered in September month return. Mind you guys, if you forget to avail ITC pertaining to last financial year up to this September month GSTR 3B due date, then if you decide or if you realize that in the month of October or November that one of the ITC or major ITC has been missed by you, then unfortunately, as per provisions, you will not be able to avail that ITC. That's the reason this reconciliation of any missed ITC is quite critical and relevant while filing September month GSTR returns. The next thing which needs to be considered is that because of Rule 36(4), it has been quite critical now to basically reconcile your ITC which you are planning to avail with GSTR 2A. So basically till the time your vendor or your supplier does not report his transaction in GSTR 1, that will not be reflecting in your GSTR 2A, and resultantly because of Rule 36(4), you will not be able to avail that ITC. So that's the reason this is the time to thoroughly reconcile your ITC register with GSTR 2A, because let's say any of your vendor would have missed to avail ITC, missed to report that invoice in his GSTR 1. As a result, it will not appear in GSTR 2A, and because of Rule 36(4), by now you wouldn't have been in a position to avail that ITC. Now let's say you will just continue with that practice, and in next month you will realize that your vendor would have reported that transaction in his GSTR 1 and it's reflecting now in GSTR 2A. But unfortunately, if you decide to avail that ITC in October month, then as per provisions, you will not be allowed. So basically guys, this is the time, these are the last few days wherein you should reconcile your ITC with GSTR 2A, and if any of your vendors would have missed to report that particular invoice raised on you in GSTR 1, then you need to inform them and ensure that they'll report that transaction in September month GSTR 1 itself, because as we already discussed, the way you are not able to make any changes in your sales side, your vendor or supplier will not be allowed to make necessary amendments or report that particular invoice raised on you in his GSTR 1. So this is the time to reconcile your ITC register with GSTR 2A and connect with all your suppliers and vendors wherein they may not have reported a particular transaction in their GST returns, or they would have made some mistakes while reporting that transaction, because of which you are not able to reconcile that transaction with GSTR 2A. So guys, this is something which is quite critical from GSTR 2A perspective, from ITC perspective, because if you miss these transactions, then ITC is something which may not be possible for you to be taken care of after the September month GST returns. And you know guys, most of the guys by now you would have realized that would have realized that while filing your annual return, while filing your GSTR 9, most of the people realize that these are certain reconciliation mistakes, and at that point of time they are at such a juncture that they cannot avail any missed ITC, they cannot make any amendments in GSTR 1 returns, they cannot make any payment of RCM and avail ITC in those months because of certain restrictions as far as time limit is concerned. That's the reason this is the actual time to consider as if you are filing your GSTR 9 return, reconcile everything, and if any corrective action needs to be taken, then that needs to be considered in your September month GST returns. So that's the reason guys, you would have realized that September month return is quite critical, because anything and everything which you want to take care of or which you want to avail any ITC, you want to reconcile something, then rather than taking care of all those things in GSTR 9, this is the time to consider all those aspects to make necessary corrective actions in your GST returns pertaining to last financial year. So I think that's it guys. It was quite a brief discussion which I wanted to share it with you. I wanted to share this top 5 things with you. I hope you would have found out this quite useful and handy, and I'll be sharing such useful quick sessions with you with regards to GST and all other aspects. So stay connected, just do subscribe. That's it. Thank you guys.